Samuel Taiwo. Samuel Taiwo is a result-oriented data scientist with over 6 years of experience or expertise in machine learning operations and track record in driving data-driven decision making. He members of the analytics, machine learning, like performance for applications. Reading cross-function of some Excel actions, actually just interacting with sites, communicating technical concepts with non-technical stakeholders. But passion is about staying ahead of industry trends and emerging technologies. It consistently drives innovation and maintains a competitive edge. Currently, someone applies his expertise at NLNG. It's good to have you, Samuel. Thank you for joining us.
All right, great. Good evening, everyone, and really glad to be here as well. And thank you for having me as part of this innovative and interesting lecture that's been going on for a couple of weeks back now. So today we'll be talking about AI ethics, and I know from before now we've had sessions that have been talking about AI, and since we're in the block three space, the Web three space, blockchain space, it makes sense for us to delve more into things that are relatable to the space that almost everyone here is acquainted with. So to this lesson, let me share. I think I'm sharing my screen, so I can place my PowerPoint up. Yeah. In today's talk, we'll be discussing ethical issues, bias, transparency, and accountability when it comes to artificial intelligence. Um, Feel free to put your question in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer them as we move ahead. Please also, moderator, if you could help me just bring it to my notice if questions do arise. We'd really love to answer them on the fly. All right, so as I was saying, almost everyone has, since we begin this series of lecture, we've talked about artificial intelligence, we've talked about blockchain, and maybe in one way or another, one point or another, we've seen how to probably build the systems and also use the systems for our day-to-day activities. But within the system that we're building and using, it's inherent that since these systems are quote unquote intelligent, we need to be able to, in a way whereby the things that they are doing, the things that they are generating, the output they give are good, right? Because in the world where we live in, no matter what technology comes out, no matter how good or how bad it is, there will be the good users and there will be the the nay users as well that want to use this technology for bad purposes, right? So what we'll be majorly focusing on in today is talking about just AI, the ethics, the biases, the transparency. How do we account for those things within AI system? How are those things being done in today's world? And we'll look at some case studies. So the learning objectives by the end of this course, we'll understand core ethical challenges in AI. We would identify real-world impact through high-profile case studies. We would evaluate the role of blockchain principles in addressing the AI ethics gap. As I said, most of us are coming from the background of Web3 and blockchain, so it makes sense for us to be able to look at what blockchain offers, considering the the new and innovative principles and strategies that blockchain has promised over the years, and also apply lesson learned to our own work. Again, how we use the system is very important to be able to, when we talk about ethics and biases, because um, we using the system, we are the one that that are using the system, and we are the one that should know how best to use the system and how not to use the system. So back to the introduction. Again, if you've got any questions, just put in the chat. The moderator will notify me. AI is everywhere, meaning AI impact touches everyone. I'm sure everyone here has heard of ChatGPT, or if you haven't used it, you've heard of it. Gemini AI, it's all on our phones, on our system. We use it day to day. You get it on your mail. You can compose email, help with that. You get it on your Word documents. It's everywhere, right? And what makes it everywhere is because of the ubiquitous nature that it has, right? Because of that nature, that single nature, it is everywhere. But that's being ubiquitous means that it raises some urgent ethical questions. Um, we see that the landscape has changed, and again, AI touches everywhere: finance, healthcare, employment, and more. And with this landscape changing, we need to talk about unfair decision and discrimination, because we're generating things from the AI. So in this talk, we'll focus on responsibility, who is liable for AI actions. We'll talk about fairness, avoiding biased outcome from AI system that you use, and accountability, who is accountable for every decision and every output that AI gives you. We're talking about this today because building ethical AI build public trust. It improves public trust and it tries to avoid harm. I don't know if you have used an AI system in the past that you ask a couple of questions and it kind of give you some really, really unethical answers, or some not safe for work, answers, and you were probably furious, or not really happy with what you got. Those are because of some of the 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 blockers. Yeah, let me put it like that. The blockers within the systems that have been neglected. So those are some of the things we'll talk about, how best to deal with these things so that we can try to avoid harm and foster a better world. Because this AI system that we have is something great, and once we use it in the right direction, once we put it in the right direction, it's going to be it's going to harness a lot of potential for us. We can even see it right now with respect to what it's doing. Right, it's helping you generate emails, helping you do work faster, 10 times faster than you can actually do, and helping developers write better codes, better testing, helping them augment what they're doing already. So it's good. It's good. We're happy we have it here, but we need to be cautious so that it doesn't get into the wrong hands of people that we use it for bad things. And also, we'll explore how decentralized system blockchains offer new models for how we can build transparency and governance in artificial intelligence systems. So we look at things like immutable edges. We look at things like decentralization, which is the core of the blockchain, promise. So this is what we look like. So starting out, we talk about responsibility in AI. The three key issues: responsibility, accountability, and fairness. RAF. Now we'll start with responsibility. The key question is, who is responsible, right? Who is responsible? But before we look at who is responsible for any AI system, what does responsibility itself means? We say responsibility is the state or fact of just being accountable or to blame something from someone. At work, your workplace, or wherever you are, when you tell you are responsible for this tax, or this is the tax that you are to handle, you are accountable for it. Everything that goes in, that comes out, you are to know about it. Everything that you do, so everything about that particular tax is within your plate. So the question is, building responsible AI. What does that mean? Responsible AI means integrating safeguard and clear ownerships to AI system. Organization and teams, designated individuals or board to own each AI system. Again, as I was saying, who is responsible? It raises that question, because who fixes things when AI goes there? as I said before in the last one, when you get some ridiculous questions or responses from AI system that you use, who is responsible for those ridiculous answers? Who is responsible for you asking ChatGPT, how do I make a bomb, or how do I, do something nasty? Those are things that you just don't want to have out there. When we get to bias, we'll look at bias of fairness. We'll look at a question of what I'll throw into the house. Still coming back within the chunk of taking within the chunks of responsibility, accountability, and fairness. So we have to talk about who is responsible. If autonomous system like we have the Tesla full self-driving, self autonomous car, and look at, okay, what this thing does, the decision this thing makes, who is responsible for those things. For example, when you go to bank, I'm very familiar with banks using artificial intelligence to determine who gets a loan or who doesn't get a loan. Who is more susceptible to pay back or not to pay back. Looking at things like so banks like that. So you now get a question like, when a bad loan decision is made, who is responsible, right? Because you can come to, okay, when we get to things like fairness, we look at discrimination in with respect to those sort of things. But right here, we can talk about human oversight as well. Coming into looking into ethical frameworks like the EU AI Act that is talking about human in the loop. So when we talk about human in the loop system, it's talking about the fact whereby AI gives you the decision, or AI gives you the answer, or the opinion, let's say, but you as a human, you make the decision. So for example, as developers, we use AI to help write better codes, right? But irrespective of what the AI have written, I have to accept it or decline it, right? So bringing human in the loop in that particular sense of other field where AI is being applied to, be it finance, healthcare, or in the automobile industry or manufacturing. It helps. It helps a lot to be able to understand that, okay, irrespective of the opinion that AI has given, the human is still in the loop, being responsible for the final output that the AI is producing. We can see again an example in your email. You're writing either emails to your boss, even when the AI does something, gives you an opinion, you still have to be the one to click send. You're responsible for sending out that particular email. So we're talking about developers and companies, organization teams, and individuals must be responsible. They must bear legal and moral responsibility for their AI system that they're building, the behavior and everything. They must be responsible for the output that every AI system, returns to the end users. So now we'll talk about accountability in an AI system. What does accountability means? What is accountability? It means being a traceability and answerability for AI actions. Right? Who answers for AI actions? Now, let's say the bad loan decision has been made, or unfortunately, you've sent, AI written email to your boss without vetting it, or without, looking through it, and now your boss says, okay, this is bad, what is this, right? Or this is way too good, etc. And it begs the question, who answers for those actions that has been committed by the AI system? Now, one thing about accountability is that it closes the loop with AI system. We talk about responsibility, we talk about fairness, but accountability is the one that is important, right? Because at the end, when things is said and done, someone has to be accountable for everything that, for the output of what happened. So it requires keeping record of AI decisions so we can analyze them later and look at why this decision was made and why this decision shouldn't have been made. I'm talk about organization implementing accountability via several means: clear ownership of AI system, feedback mechanism to challenge AI decision, an ethics review board, to kind of look into the decisions that AI makes. Like in my place of work, when we build AI models, one of the things that we do when we deploy these models is to be able to understand the sort of um, sort of output that this AIs, these models are bringing out to the end users. So when we get those outputs, we can always relay them back and look at the underlying statistical analysis of those, those responses, and be able to say, okay, this response is really bad. It doesn't correlate well with the desired output that we wanted to do. So we're able to, look at why it's making the decision, analyze those things, and also be able to just trace those things again, accountability, tracing those response back to where the problem is. And fundamental practice, as I've said, is to log AI data and decision, details of logs, everything. Accountability is very important. And one of the key things when we talk about accountability is explainable AI. Right? Explainable AI is a technique that aims to show why an AI system decides on something, and why it decides something should be or not to be. If you use ChatGPT or any other AI system, sometimes you see it gives you two options. It said, do you prefer this one or do you prefer that one? It gives you two options for you to choose from. And sometimes you might wonder, why is it doing that, right? Because the AI system from the back end, has gotten, we can say, different, still getting to the same answer, but very close opinions that I think will be helpful for what you've asked for. So how is that an AI system able to be know that these two things are quite similar? These two things are worth your time for you to be able to decide upon. Being able to explain that process of coming to that point, right? We can do that on the call, yeah, but that will be too nitty gritty into building AI systems. But traceability is important. Being able to go back to the backend and say, this is how this AI made this decision. The response that this AI gives me, this is it. How is he able to achieve or arrive at these decisions? And there are tools that we use as AI engineers and ML engineers to be able to detect and see, okay, this decision is great and this decision is not good, and help us to trace back to why was it able to make this decision. So that's one of the key things. Going back to our first, talking about ethics, being able to be, being responsible for everything that you're doing. So being able to trace whatever answer it gives you, it helps to be able to know that, okay, in future, if the answer is wrong, we can say, okay, this is why it's wrong, and we can do this. If the answer is right, oh, good, we can better refine it to give us a better answer that we can use. So those are the things that that helps. Again, government measures. Working in a big organization and multinational organization, you have to be conscious of things, of a building AI system, because when audit comes in, or you're dealing with government policies whereby you have to be responsible with the way you use data, or you have to be responsible with the sort of with the sort of models that you deploy out there, so that it doesn't discriminate or doesn't provide some sort of biases to the citizens of the country. Then at that point in time, you have to know that, okay, what I'm building is on the line of, is on the verge of creating chaos or creating harmony within the citizen of the country. So accountability and traceability is very, very important. As we move ahead, we'll see some interesting, very, very interesting um, case studies whereby AI system has been ethics, accountability, responsibility has been ignored, accountability is nowhere to be found, and fairness is zero. Right. So going back to the third one, we've talked about responsibility, we've talked about accountability. Now we're talking about fairness in AI. So we're talking about fairness. Sometimes people say, maybe you need fairness, maybe you need equity, um, maybe you need equality, or whatever it is. But right in at AI, we're talking, we're putting on the umbrella of fairness, being fair to everybody, right? Um, Now, no one should have an advantage, since this system, I intelligent system, artificially, of course, means that they might kind of have an advantage in one way or another. Now, I put a question forth, and if you can answer, please put your answer in the chat. I would love to hear everyone's thought. Um, we all can, um, you agree with me or not, but we live in a biased and somewhat unfair world, right? The world we live in is kind of biased. Sometimes you feel like probably you deserve to get a job or you deserve to get better than you've been given, and unfortunately you didn't get it. Say things are unfair, the world is biased, etc. But the truth is, we live in an unfair world, or at least a biased world. Now, AI models are built on the premise of our worldview and our world model. So, do you think it makes sense for AI models to also emulate our worldview and design? Because remember, your ChatGPT is trained on large corpus of text that are, that are extracted from the internet. Google, Reddit, YouTube produces about 1 petabyte of data per day. So that is enough to literally, uh, get or emulate and simulate the our worldview. So when you have things like that, that are used to train AI models. Do you think it makes sense, right? For these AI models to continue to emulate those worldviews that will give, and also if you think so or not, and if you think so or not, how can we avoid those avoid it emulating biases and unfair within our worldview, so that we don't design AI systems that are unfair and biased as well. I would love to see the comments if you have any thoughts. That would be very much greatly interesting to see. Let me check comments. Okay, nothing yet. Nothing yet. All right. Would probably get back from that one. All right, but when we talk about, bias can be through historical data, unrepresentativeness within data or algorithm. As I was saying, unrepresentativeness is one of the things. For example, when you look at YouTube and online internet, you rarely get local spoken Nigerian languages, the Hausas, the Igbos, the Yorubas, the Efik, and all other tribes that we have and languages that we have. You rarely get those data online. So for you to go to a big, grandiose AI system such as ChatGPT and start saying or start asking some questions relating to your uniquely to your own, background or to your own tribe, it's difficult for you to get to those things, right? For example, when you look at AI system, okay, do you train on black faces? Can when I go to the airport and I want a facial recognition system to capture my face, linking to my information within the immigration system, and because I'm black, he just he just couldn't capture my face well, or misrepresenting who I am because of an AI system that has been biased or that has been trained to be biased towards a particular set of groups and people. This makes it difficult for some set of people that have been, let's say, that are people that we can say that are um, on the low before, just make it really bad when you're within a system that is unbiased. We know we are living in a world that is unfair already. Then we shouldn't. It doesn't make sense for us to continue to build systems that not only emulates that but propagates and increase um, those unfairness and biases in our society. So it doesn't make sense. So tactics such as diverse data collection, fairness, aware algorithm, auditing, and training are things that we use in building an unbiased and fair AI system. Most really, when we talk about data collection, diverse data collection is very important, and an algorithm that should be able to know that, okay, even though I have within my data set, it's more lenient on white faces, or more lenient on trained within the Western environment. I'm still kind of aware that this I'm speaking to the general public and the general world, which in a sense consists of a lot of people, and I should try my best not to be unbiased and unfair. So making AI decision explainable promotes fairness. If we can understand how AI decide, we can support and correct biased decision and outcome. Now, tools like, again, back to accountability that we'll talk about, traceability and answerability. How do we trace the answers and the actions that AI makes? Tools like Sharp, Lime, AIX 360, they can help us to look at, those are some of the decisions that AI is making, and help us make better decisions with AI as well. Do I have any questions? All right. If none, go ahead. Key issues. Okay.
Another question.
Oh, sorry. Um, Let me check if there's any question. Yes, yes, I can hear. Yes.
Yeah, so mine is not even a question. It's about what you said about training AI, um, the kind of data you train it with. I think you mentioned something about it is for recognizing people, what skin color, and all of those things. And I just want to chip
Yeah.
in that, yeah, this conversation is actually very important, right? That we have them as a people, because I think either last year or last 2 years, I was reading an article of a young lad that was in, I think he was in high school. And then when the student came out of school, the police was there to arrest him just because of the fact that that was the crime that was committed around the neighborhood. And since he was a person of color, the surveillance camera, which was being bought by the AI system, identified as the person who committed the crime. At the end of the day, he wasn't taken anywhere close to the place that the crime was committed
David,
and all
sorry,
of
was
that.
struggling to hear you. I don't know if it's just from my end.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, but I think I kind of get the gist of what he's trying to say with respect to when biases come with facial recognition, when um, the algorithm in itself, right, it's biased, whereby maybe your face maybe it's trained well with white people or stuff like that, and it's not really good enough to be able to capture black faces. So those are real world problems that thankfully, because of some of the AI responsible and explainability AI work that's been done so far, it's bringing all those things into light. And when we get into things like some of the case studies that we'll be talking about today, we'll look at big cases from Facebook, from Clearview, from even government military agencies that are building systems that are, that are having some comma, I would say, quote and unquote, and be deploying the system into the wild whereby it's being used. So not to talk of those ones that we do not even know about. So yeah, thank you very much, David, for that one talking about the skin color. All right, yeah, that was by Amazon. So going back to our lecture, okay, imagine if AI agents, if AI systems are being sexist or racist or being unfair towards certain political parties or agendas. You're totally right. You're totally right, and those can be used for some political just agendas, and before and after an election, right? To just we see deep fakes now. Deep fakes are something that trend a couple of while ago, but they are really really getting better. Whereby you can take someone's face and just create some videos and a couple of videos, a couple of text that impersonating that person, right? You can use that to propagate some political nayness around. So those are some of the things that we need to talk about, and those are some of the reasons why we need to build ethical system and responsible system. And at the end of the day, we should say who is responsible for the actions that the system, makes. Now it comes down to each and every one of us to be able to say these AI systems that we are using, how do we use them? Do we use them in the right way? Do we use them in a way that ethical and responsible towards the entire people of the world? Now, we've talked about the core three principles of ethical AI. We talked about responsibility, accountability, and fairness. And now the next point for us to talk about is blockchain principles in AI systems, right? We know blockchain is it's been on a trend for a couple of years now, and that is one of the premises that brought us all here for this class. Now we need to look at how these blockchain systems, some of the principles of blockchain systems, how we can help in building AI systems that are not just they're not just fair, but these systems are well accountable for and they're responsible, right? So please, blockchain aligns naturally with accountability and fairness needs. By design, it's transparent. You have a shared data. You can go on the chain, depending on which is it, and you can see all the transactions that has been done, and being able to map each one to another. So now imagine a world whereby every model version. Again, we talk about retraining, building better models. So it's retraining is a process of building new versions of models. So you have model version one. Same thing with your ChatGPT. In the early days of ChatGPT, you would see underneath to say this version is at probably 2022 11 or 2023 or 1. So those things like that are model versioning and retraining. So whereby in a world whereby model 1, model 2, model v1, model v2, all has they all have data hashes within the blockchain transaction. I can be able to say, okay, OpenAI built model 1 on the 21st of September 2022, and then they built it with this particular data. Every information is on the transaction block, and then we go next to the version 2. I can see every information is on the next transaction block, and I can see the improvements they made, or I can see how bad they did with respect to RF. So immutable audit threats. I think that's one of the the key and the core feature. I might be wrong here. Blockchain is not really my key, but I think I've read some articles with respect to these principles of blockchain and how we can help within AI system. So blockchain core feature is tamper-proof ledger. It's immutable, right? Once it happens, it's there. It's on the block. Everyone can see it. You can't change it. It's done. It's done, right? So when we have when we log AI training data, model versions, model updates, when we log the decisions that AI make, when we log them on the blockchain, those records can be altered, and we can know that okay, the model OpenAI built in this September 21st, 2022. These are the features. These are the decisions this AI made. These are the data that was used to train the model. These are the training parameters. These are the model parameters. When we have those features, everyone can be able to say, hey, this model you guys built, it's something is wrong there, right? Something is wrong there. Looking at all those looking at all those those data within the block, you can be able to point out this is bad, this is bad, this is bad. When you have the whole world, viewing that, so those records can be altered, and when audits comes in, everyone is able to audit. So that's one of the things that that is great, and it eliminates a single point of failure, whereby just one organization can tell you what their model does or what it does not. It can tell you, okay, this is the outcome that it should produce without being accountable for what their AI system actually produces out there. We talk about decentralization and trustless AI. Instead of, again, back to immutable and audit threats that everyone can see, instead of one company auditing those AI, those data, distribution, validation, everything can be seen within the block. Then we talk about smart contract enforcement, being able to encode ethical rules as smart contract. For example, you say smart contract could prevent certain types of data being used within blockchain, within the model. So data that are overly skewed, outlier data, way skewed that promotes bias and unfairness within the society. We can say we should not enforce those use those data within training. Incentive for ethics. My time is running out. Tokens or reputation systems can reward good behavior. So again, one of the good things of the Web3 space is there is very much high incentive that is available for any good deed that that you think of or that you inspire. So the ability for you to use tokens to be able to promote building good and transparent AI system, promote open source folks that are ready to build transparent AI systems, that are ready to build transparent or ethical and unbiased AI, data, people that want to audit this data, people that want to, use this data to train models, and etc. There are a lot of ways that you could incentivize, building ethical AI systems that could help within the blockchain. So case study, we're looking at three case studies today. Um, First, to look at the Israeli military AI targeting, and okay, sorry. So this one again, as I was talking about, from um, multinational or government agencies, whereby they're trying to, use AI system to kill the in the war zone, right? So this happened in 2023, 2024 during the height of the Gaza, Israel and Gaza conflict with the Hamas force. So a system, AI power system called Lavender was developed, and you use facial recognition of about 37,000 Gazans to, on data analysis to build um, a real-time model that can help you select who you should target, to send an airstrike to target people that you're looking for, the bad guys, the folks that are, that are retaliating or doing bad things from the Gaza and Hamas side. So this sounds right, right? We have people that we're trying to kill. Let's build an AI system that will be able to identify them, and let this AI system be able to prompt, an airstrike to send it to the target. So this makes sense, but the human rights sources reveal that, using some set of pre-authorized, kill per strike. You know, one one the first thing is, is there a human in the loop? Going back to responsibility that we talked about in the, responsibility and accountability that we talked about in the beginning. Is there a human in the loop? Because this is a huge case whereby you're sending an airstrike. And the thing about an airstrike is that it does not kill your targets alone. It kills, civilians. You call them, you know, the what English do you use now? You know, yeah, this let me just say the civilians, right? 15 to
Collateral
20.
damage.
Yeah, thank you very much. Collateral damage. So, so when you have collateral damage of 15 to 20 civilians on just, let's say, one person that you're trying to send an airstrike to, that is something we need to talk about with respect to human rights violations there. So, cautioning, so things like that raises ethical concern, right? We can look at Project Lavender online to see some of the public and legal responses that came about is when some NGOs and human rights sources leaked this thing, which sparked a whole lot of alarm within the international space. Right. So this is a way whereby you're building an ethical system and you're deploying an ethical system into the wild, because you see that these people are not my people. Then I have to just let them go, because to kill one, you're killing 20 people or 21 more people to this thing. So this is a very big ethical concern whereby you don't account for fairness, you don't account for responsibility, and most especially you're not accountable for the system that you're trying to build. Unfortunately, the case is still up in the air because it's still unresolved, as the war is still even going up until now. So everyone is trying to use as much force as they can use to fight the other person. The second we have is a Clearview AI face recognition. This one was very popular, and it spun up within the when AI really buzzed within 2019, 2020. 2017, when we had a really big leap within the AI system with our transformer model that was developed. And 2019, 2020, we're starting to see AI system being developed and deployed in the wild. So Clevel, an AI startup that took thousands and billions of faces online. I won't be surprised if my face is in their database, but to build a large facial data recognition to scrape again from social media's news site and the website. It is software that allows law enforcement, private organizations, or any government organizations as well to upload the data, upload a photo rather, and you get instant matches of faces against the database, identifying the particular individual that you're trying to identify. So this is good, right? Most usually for law enforcement, when you get someone, we're looking for this person, and we just send it through the database, gets instant analysis and identifying the person, even go as far as probably being able to track the person in real time using closest CCTV cameras to find the person. Now, the problem with this is, even though we don't have that here in our country today, whereby you there's a talk about privacy and a talk about consent, right? Those two things are actually very important in some countries, unlike ours, where that is rarely spoken about. But consent and privacy is very important, and when you have those two things at the forefront of um, you know um, stuff like this building big AI, facial recognition algorithm, then you have to put those things into consideration. So journalists and civil liberties in early 2020s, late 2020s, 2021, raised concern about this, using about 50 billion plus of images to train data. So it raises a privacy issue, most especially privacy and consent issue. People never consented to having their images being used, and you have vulnerable people, victims, people that are protesting, for example. They do not have the right to protest again, because once they go out the street, even if you're dispersed, they can still, once they get your face in an image, they can easily just identify your face with a large database and probably come arrest you when you're going to work or something, or even forgotten about the protest you did. So this raises a lot of privacy issues. And again, things like this, you definitely have racial biases between it. You definitely have racial biases within such system like this, because again, our worldview is already skewed to a particular point, right? So when you're building AI system that just takes this worldview and tries to extend and promote these things, you definitely get things like this. So in 2022, the case was settled. Clearview settled the case in Illinois. They agreed not to sell a database again to any private or government organizations for 5 years, and other U.S. cities, and including international regulators and organizations such as the EU, France, okay, part of the EU as well. They tried to sue them with respect to breaking laws and violations of consent, privacy matters, etc. GDPR, yeah. So yeah, and the last case study is LAPD, Prediction Police, or it's called LASER. That was in 2020, 2019, 2021. That was when the case took place. So this is like a predictive policing, whereby you forecast. So you forecast, let's say you live in Lagos and you say between VI and probably Lekki, the big Lekki parts, you forecast that, okay, probably the rate of violence within those particular places might be low, considering going to places like Mushin or Surulere, where you can forecast that, okay, the rate of violence might be high. Now, we all agree that, well, it might be in some cases, right? Those things are right? Because you most likely see violence in those places. But again, that is between our own biased worldview. But we shouldn't. We should try as much as possible not to put those things into AI system so that they don't continue to promote it, whereby in some particular places and some particular points where it's not true at all, they come to give us some false answers, false predictions. So LAPD did this. You building um, a crime data to forecast hotspots or individuals likely to be involved in crime. And critics argue that the system simply codified, quote unquote, codified existing biases within our worldview. And internal review showed that this merely just validated again what I was saying. They only merely validated existing policing patterns that happens, right? Policing patterns with respect to looking at hotspot places that are known, for being, hotspot, disproportionately flagging low-income Black and Latino neighborhoods. So with such system, you continue to have a particular set of people that will be flagged, right? Continue to have one particular set of people that will be flagged. And one bad thing about the system is, again, we talked about retraining, right? You have a version one model, you have a version two model. So when you now use data that has already been skewed, data that already be flagged to be disproportionate, and when you're targeting a particular set of people and you put that data back into the model to do a retraining, you continue to build a system that not just only codifies our own worldview, but that system now only sees one worldview of Black people or and Latinos people about it, right? So it's now like a big way bias that is even way worse than our own worldview. So concerns of racial profiling, lack of transparency, and due process errors. In 2021, journalists exposed critical biases, sparking a public outcry. LAPD faces criticism from regulators, arguing that the predictive policing violated constitutional fairness, and LAPD officially ended it. So while I use some of these three examples is because we get to see that the ethical work that some of the people are doing are really paying off with respect to trying to pull down these systems that are trying to codify our worldview and are trying to continue to promote the bias and the unfairness that we already have in our worldview. We have a lot of examples that you can look. You can look at the Amazon recognition one. I know Tesla has their own with respect to building systems that are unethical, and Facebook. Yeah, they have a whole lot. Google has theirs as well, but I know they were forced by their employee to stop the project with the U.S. military, whereby they were building robots that to kill on sight, drones, I think. Yeah, so those are some of the things that we were seeing in our world, and they will continue. So we as individuals, we need to really start thinking in an ethical way, whereby this system, because you can literally go to organface.co and just download a model there, download Olalma, begin deploy your model. If you have a GPU system, deploy it, boom, you're good to go, right? You're good to go with respect to building AI system, deploying AI system, using AI system. So it's that easy for us to be able to build the system, which is good, because open sourcing the system means that everyone is able to see what is actually happening and being able to build something better. But at that point, it comes at the cost of what actually is your responsibility as individuals, right? Point one, we need to understand that ethic matters, right? Without we've seen that, with some of the case studies we've talked about, that ethics really matters in what we're doing. AI risk scams, fairness, responsibility, and accountability ensures that AI benefits all of us as a society. This principle helps us to preserve the trust that we have in technology, right? It's important. We see with what we had with the internet, right? The internet, developed from the web one, where it was just only the viewing alone. You can create, you just view, to web two, for you to be able to view and create. Now the web three, whereby you can not only create alone, but you can incentivize what you're creating, and it's a decentralized, it's a decentralized environment that we all in. So blockchain, it helps, those principles that we talked about, immutable logs, transparency, and community governance, those things actually help to to create and bolster ethical environments. And as tech enthusiasts and developers that we should ask the question, how the project that we're building, the work we're doing, the system, the AI system we're using, how is it helping to bring out a diverse voice within the AI system and within the, the AI space, because it's important for us to continue to cry out loud that building ethical AI system, it's important. So thank you very much. Thank you so much for your time, and that's the presentation I have for us today. If anyone's got any questions, comments, please do let me know. But let's put it in our minds, building an AI system that are responsible is interesting. And yeah, thank you very much. Moderator?
Right. Thank you so much, Samuel. It was an interesting session, and I enjoyed every bit of it, every bit of it, especially the part about talking about biases and the examples she gave with the police software. I think that's something we've come across and discussed with David personally in one of our conversations. And yeah, it's a good session. Okay, David's mic is unmuted. Do you want to say something?
Yeah, yeah, thank you so much, Taiwo. This is eye-opening. I think it points at the fact that we need um, more people to be knowledgeable about AI ethics, and it's something that as a society we need to take it seriously if we want to live in a safe space 5 to 10 years from now. So yeah, thank you so much. This is very good. I think I enjoyed when you talked about LAPD. I didn't even know that was a thing. Well, I think it's a good application, but the concern is how would bias affect the systems that people that are not guilty of crimes wouldn't be um, targeted, right? When certain crimes are committed just due to the fact that AI had indicated that such a person is likely to commit the crime. But all in all, this was great. Thank you so much. It was good having you here. So we're going to take 3 questions. So I don't know if anyone has any questions. So if you have a question, there is no regret to get by raising your hand. Or you ask in the comment section, and I will ask directly.
I think I do have a question from my own end. It's more about the deep fakes because it's something that caught my attention. I'm curious. And if you notice, deepfakes are getting quite better compared to how they've been. So in the past, they're getting better, and almost impossible to be able to tell the difference between some AI-generated videos and real videos unless you pay very good attention. So how can one spot deepfakes? Are there things that we should look out for in order to be able to tell um sorry, pardon me, to be able to tell deepfakes from real videos? And also, is there like any do I say governing body or like an AI body or something, like a body that is in place to maybe regulate things like deepfake videos and things of such nature?
All right, we can say deepfakes are a form of disinformation, right? we can put them like that. That these are some form of disinformation that that people want to use to propagate some particular propagandas or anything that may be. So I think one of there are tools. You get tools out there. Even with just a quick Google search, you would get tools out there that will help you to to detect some of these deep fakes. Even some text, you can even get tools that can help you detect AI generated text. So that is one. Those tools are available and for free. And the second one is once the individual should be able to come out, right? Because you most times you have this. There was one I was watching the other day. It was from Africa Doctor, and he was, he came out and say, "Hey, this is not me," and we as individual need to just put it out there that this is actually disinformation. So making awareness as well. I think awareness is what you use to kill this disinformation, right? I think that's one of the big ways to kill it because we knowing it's a deep fake, good. But we also have to put it out there that for people that are, that are not knowledgeable to that point to know that that's a deep fake. So we should also put it out there to them. So I think those are the two things we will be able to use awareness to be able to counter misinformation and also using tools. With a quick Google search, you can find tools that can help you to spot deepfakes. And if you are good as well, you can some minute things, maybe like the voice, the 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 image to the FPS of the video. Yeah, a lot of things depending on how good you are, you can be able to spot those things. But again, once the person who is in question should be able to come out, one, and secondly, once you identify that that's a particular thing, it's a disinformation, misinformation. What you need to do is to create awareness out there as well for people to know that this right here is misinformation and it's wrong.
Thank you so much for that. Thanks.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yes. I think just to add to what Taiwo said, you can check out platforms like Blackbird AI, just as I was mentioned, can express of the interaction. So Blackbird AI with companies that can help to such.
okay, sorry, you're not so audible, David.
Oh, sorry about that. Can you hear me now? Not much better.
It's still quite the same.
How about now?
Oh yeah, it's better now.
Cool. So I was saying, just as I mentioned, deepfakes can be categorized under sorts of professional disinformation, which there are a lot of companies, just as I said, tools out there. I just wanted to point out that there's this company, Blackbird, there, they work with businesses and government bodies. So they were able to do AI systems that are able to detect if information real or not. I think depending on what it is, they always it's able to.
All right, thank you. High fraction if it was privileged, but I believe you said Blackbird AI. They have a
Yeah,
tool that can help detect stuff like that. Thank you.
yes.
Yeah, so
Does anyone
if
have?
you have,
Yeah,
huh?
go ahead, Isaac. Go ahead, Isaac.
Oh, okay, I was just about to ask if anyone have any questions. You can go ahead and raise your hand and we'll unmute you so you can ask the question.
I think I have a question. Right? I think that was a time during your lecture that you mentioned AI should let our world, right? So my question is, if we should as much as a lot of the biases in most of the things that have been treated AI, I don't think that a lot of people almost like consider somewhat unfair. So one people the other.
Um,
Yes.
sorry, David, are you
Maybe
using like a mic or something?
I'm struggling to hear you. If maybe you can
Oh,
tell us something, yeah.
can you hear me now? Is it better?
Yes, it's better
Yes,
now.
it's
It's better.
better.
All right. So I said during the course of your lecture, there was a place that you mentioned if if AI should be trained, right, to represent our world. And then I think during the course of uh, that particular subject, you talked about biases, right, which, of course, bias in AI has certain groups of persons that consider it to be unfair to them. And of course, almost everyone would agree to that. Like, some biases are just unfair. But if we should take away these biases, would we say AI is still presenting our worldview? Because I think what would make the world and the way it is currently is still that mix of biases and truths and lies and all those things. So I just wanted to know, what do you think about it?
Okay. Let me just try to recap your question if I got it right. So you're talking about where I talked about bias and using training from the training data as well as from the model itself, right? Training using when you're training models, being aware, making the models aware that there's an inherent bias within the algorithm or within the data. So you're saying that once we take away those biases, right? Do we, sorry, okay, once we make those models, maybe we remove those bias awareness or something like that, do we still need to make our, sorry, it was kind of breaking for
Right.
me to,
Okay, does it still present like our worldview? So take for example,
okay, yes,
uh,
I think we still represent because if we are using purely the data from our worldview, it will right because again, for example, let's talk about set of groups of people, right? You have us as Nigerians and black people, right? And you have them as Western guys and white folks. And you look at the internet as a whole, right? When you go online or anything, videos, images, or anything, you literally find those things, right? More on their side than on our side, right? And even the general language that we're using to communicate, which is English, is what you find almost everywhere. Like billions of people speak English, right? Okay, we can say Chinese, but they have their own that they built their own base and foundational model on their own end, right? So things like for we to eliminate those biases, things we can do is training our own foundational models with our languages, right? So training things like okay, we take the Wazobia plus the other languages, the Efik, the Ibibio, the all the languages that we have in Nigeria here, and we take them all together. We gather information that we can have from them as much as possible. Then we train these models. So building those sort of models now won't be with respect to us, right? With respect to us, to be biased, but with respect to them now, it will be because it doesn't have their worldview. It only has a little within that they within the model. So, a way to tackle those things is also, having intelligence and capable people within the particular group to be able to build systems. Again, building systems that are less biased. I don't know if that touched a bit of what you were asking.
oh, absolutely, absolutely, um,
Um,
absolutely. I don't think a better answer could be given. Like us.
okay. All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Does anyone have any other questions? We take one last question that would be it. All right, awesome. All right, thank you, everyone. I think the attendance is up on the platform, so be sure to read it out.